So record companies would stop looking at bands like Quiet Riot, and there was a version of Motley Crue out there. I think it was called London at the time, and the Rat, Mickey Rat, and Dokken, and they were not paying attention to us. So the only way that we could get the attention of the record company is if we recorded a song, a demo of a song that was in the charts, even though it wasn't new wave or punk.
Right.
So we did. We did a few attempts. There's a song called One in a Million, which is our attempt to, to write something at the request of the record company guy who put his finger on the Billboard magazine and said, if you write a song like this, bring me over and I'll listen to it. It was, Do You Think I'm Sexy? So here's Quiet Riot doing, a disco-ish song called The One in a Million just to satisfy this guy. And by the time we came back with the demo, that was off the charts. So, we were basically chasing our tails.
You guys, you feel like you guys ever really found, your own voice, as the band?
Oh, we did a mental health. I mean, there were so many things that there was no concession about. Like the label, the producer of the label wanted the band to start the record with Come On Feel the Noise, and we said no, we won't bang your head. So that's more of a representation of what the band is all about, And also they wanted us to change our image, cut our hair, go more like new wave. This is 1982. This is before MTV started really, playing out. Our video, which is the one that really broke the whole Sunset Strip thing. I mean, they were playing Come On Feel the Noise every half hour on MTV. That was the big difference between what we had going versus the other bands that were not getting their video played every half hour, And that's what put it on at number one by November, having that Come On Feel the Noise. Not Metal Health. Metal Health came out first as a single, didn't do as well on MTV. It basically only got a few spins on the video. And then Come On Feel the Noise just busted wide open. And then it was re-released as Bang Your Head. And again, it didn't have the same impact.
So how did you end up with Ozzy, if you don't mind me asking? Obviously something to do with Randy probably wanting.
Yeah. They were looking for a bass player. They happened to be audition bass players in LA. And they were like, within 10 days of going on the road, and there certain qualities that they were looking on the individuals, and mainly somebody who was not going to be a bad influence on Ozzy, drinking and drugging and whatever. And Randy kept saying, yep, Rudy's the guy. And when I went down to audition, it's really funny. When I went down to audition, first of all, I auditioned on 2 songs that I had to learn overnight. And actually, the way I learned them is because Randy came over earlier. There was no copy of the album. We didn't have a cassette player. And he came over. I was living at Kevin's, and he came over and brought his own cassette, Walkman, and he plugged it into the speakers. And that's how we had such little time that Randy taught me the bass. He said, this is the bass. Later on, when I actually went on the road and bought my own Walkman, got a copy of the Blizzard of Oz. This is 1981. The record, I don't think it was officially out yet in the United States. Then I really gave it a good listen to what the actual bass line were in the record. I have to okay, I've been playing it this way, but it should go this way. So it became like a combination of both, what Randy taught me and whatever was on the record.
He definitely has been a big influence in my life, especially with phrasing and, classical guitar. I studied classical guitar because of Randy Rhoads, and tried to incorporate it into metal like Randy did. And I'm nothing like him. No way.
Oh, yeah. No, nobody. Yeah.
He was like
Yeah.
what, 25 years old and he was doing that, you know? I've spent my
Oh, no, no. See, he was doing that before. He just became known for doing that when he was 25 years. It just doesn't happen overnight. This is something that he had been working on, developing.
so when you started playing with him and Ozzy, that must have blew your mind, right? Because you said that he really, you know, just took off when he went with Ozzy being able to have that
Yeah,
freedom.
but yeah, and you know what was really strange? By the time I was finished with the rehearsals, I my that became the standard in my life. You know,
That's what
that's what we did. That's what I did. I played with Randy and I played with Tommy Aldridge and Ozzy Osbourne.
you,
Yeah,
that's great too.
that was my world. That was my world. You know.
It's an amazing band. Absolutely
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, I knew that it was amazing, but what you did not have back then that we have now is the instant comment on social media about how you're doing.
Right.
Because we just did a show and I thought, well, this is really good. Then when you go to the next one and you don't hear anything about it, how you did because you're gone. You move on. There's nobody to wait for you. We used to leave town right after the show. We would get in the bus and leave town. So there was no going into the lobby of the hotel, hanging out for a drink and meeting the fans coming over to hang out with you. Nope, you're moved on. Next.
Has that changed over the years? Now that you've had a lot more experience, or you
So
just
it's not the experience, it's technology. Now you know, by the time you get up the stage, somebody has posted already, you know, the first few songs of the set.
does
You know,
that
it's instantaneous now. Yeah.
do you find that a hindrance, or do you think that's something that's beneficial to music these days?
Well, I mean, you should always do the best possible, whether people are capturing for posterity or not, because people are there to experience that. Uh, not really. I play exactly the same way, whether I got an iPhone on my face or, as a matter of fact, when I have an iPhone on my face, I play to it.
I'm thinking more of like piracy and stuff like that, how it affects record sales and online.
Nobody buys records anymore. Nobody buys records anymore. Nobody. Yeah, we don't rely on that.
It's hard to
You know, we rely on what we do live from town to town, and some bands we don't take any merch with us, and we don't do any meet and greets right now, and you know, we're trying to stay healthy as possible. You know, there's only four of us on the road. We only have a crew. It's just four guys going out there, plug and unplug. I got three cables. I do the last note of bang your head, take a bow, go behind my amp, unplug three cables, and go to the dressing room with all my gear. And that's it. We're done.
like back in the '70s, right? When you first started. Not on
Yeah,
some
back in the 70s, you know, look, uh, guitar bass techs used to love working with me because I would always change my own strings. I will boil my own strings because that's something I've been doing for over 40 years. And I take care of my equipment. It's like jumping on a parachute. You shouldn't let nobody else but you pack that parachute.
you boil your
That's
string,
it.
you boil
Yeah.
your strings for the tone. You get a different tone by boiling your strings.
Well, I get rid of the gunk. I mean, think of the strings as surgical tools, instruments. You purified them and you get rid of all the dirt and grease and everything. And it's the same. But I must tell you, you must remove the strings from the bass.
It's great.
That's a disclaimer right there. I'm not responsible if you stick your bass in a pot, try to boil the strings.
So, do you when you go into writing or playing, do you have any type of meditation that you follow, or rituals, or um, like before, for example, when I go out, I always, think to myself, like, I want to play to the best of my ability. I'll get like myself in a zone and like focus on, what I'm going to do. And I was just wondering if you have anything like that in your creative process, or even, before you're playing live.
Yeah, I have two main creative process. One of them is, let's say somebody send me tracks and they want me to add the bass. And they'll send me some kind of like a ghost track. And I tell them, listen, if you want me to play bass on your song, you got to let me be me playing bass on your song. And I'm going to produce myself, which means that I'm going to make certain choices. But I need to know where you want it to guide me through it, because we're not in the same room.
Right.
Like traditionally you go in the studio and there's producers and there's the band. It's like recording by committee. People make decisions, and if you're like hired to do something. And so I listen to the ghost track and I hear like where it's going to be sparse and where there's going to be more information. Let's say the verse versus the B section versus the chorus. If there's more movement, more melodic, okay. So that's what you're thinking of. But then I do my own version of it. I make my own note choices
Right.
that to my taste of what I think that the song needs. Because sometimes the singer doesn't realize that the bass needs to support the vocals, or another bass player might approach it just like, okay, I'm going to go with the drums, or I'm going to go with the guitar. I'm going like, wow, there's no foundation for the vocals here. I gotta get the vocalist, something to be on. And so what I do is I listen to the range of the singer. I'll pick different instruments, that's instruments that'll have certain frequencies, if it's a male or female, you know and make sure that I don't get in the way. And also my bass lines will go with the actual arc of the melody, or the vocalist melody, so I can go big. Let's say if he goes up, I'm not going to go down, because that's going to leave a big gap between what I'm playing and what they're playing. It's like when Bach wrote all the four chorus. You would have the soprano, alto, tenor, baritone. I don't think they even have bass singers, basso profundo singers back then. Just like that. And the bass is, let's say I am the baritone right there. If you listen to music that was recorded in the 60s and 70s, before bass synthesizers were popular in top 40 radio, most of the playing was done on the bass no lower than the A on the E string. Most of the time when you heard an E note, it was the E either on the A string on the seventh fret, or maybe the E on the D string of the second fret. Very rarely did you hear like low, well, for example, the beginning of Running with the Devil. That was very unusual. But then again, it was not necessarily a top 40 song. Like, let's say, the Guess Who, the American Woman. And I know this from being in the band. That's and just go. It doesn't follow. Dum bum da 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 da. No, the bass doesn't play that. It's E E E on the seventh fret of the A string.
It gives you time
That's
to
it.
lick your finger, right?
Yeah. I'm I'm sorry.
I said that gives you time to lick your finger, right?
Yeah. I'm on many things, but what I'm saying, sonically, things were different, because they would sit down with a producer. First of all, one of the reasons why Van Halen was able to have that open E was because all their records were, each side of the record were way under 19 minutes. That's why you get more low end. The grooves are more apart, so the needle sits in nicely in the groove. When you go over 20 minutes, the grooves start getting shorter, not as wide, narrower, and the needle doesn't sit in. So if there's a lot of low frequency, needles are skipping. That's done in mastering,
That is interesting.
right? Yeah, that's done in mastering. So the records, they wanted to have as many singles as possible on the record, and they were pretty short. That under 3 minutes singles. To get airplay, because that's what the money was. You toured to sell records back then. Now you basically make a record, give it away so you can tour.
Right.
Now you have a new story to tell, to tell the promoters, yeah, we got a new record. So, anyways, so a lot of that has to be taken into consideration, or at least I do, because listen, I was born in 1950, about 5 or 6 years before the term rock and roll came up. So I predate rock and roll. I predate metal. You know what I mean? I predate all these things, which means that I grew with it and I understand the flow, how things, the journey
Oh, yeah.
began. Where the roots of rock and roll came from. The first music I heard living in Cuba was Latin jazz, and that's part of my DNA.
Yeah.
Hearing that,
Which I
and yeah,
love it. I love that whole vibe.
yeah, Dizzy Gillespie, Duke Ellington, all of that. Yeah, yeah. But I'm talking about the '50s Latin jazz. So it's when I sit down to record something, and I wanted to when I play producer, of the track that I'm doing, I I put the music and the song first, and I'm going like, okay, what can I do to actually do something creative? Because that's the reason why I do it, to be challenged creatively, and but also be that that something that is coming from me, but also it adds a flavor to the song that wasn't there before, or that if somebody recorded a bass track would not have that.
Now, do you think a lot of bass players have that type of attitude other than like I know bass players when I'm not a bass player, but usually, it's the bass and the drums kind of follow each other. And your approach is more of the melody of the vocalist is what you're saying.
Well, let's say if you listen to the Who, and the Who for me they're my prototype of what I envision that I am a part of. And if you listen to the Who, it was more symphonic. Keith Moon was a percussion section. As a matter of fact, he didn't even have a hi hat. Just like fills, and it was like this guy playing timpani, or you know what I mean. It was like whole percussion section, and then you have M Whistle was the strings. The way that he played, he was like a cello, even though he grew up playing the French horn. Still, he was coming from that frequency range of like the bass and the cello. It wasn't even bass because it was more like treble. And then you have Pete Townsend, which rhythm stabs like horn section. That was it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's playing the same thing at the same time. It fills it up, especially in a three-piece band. Cream was the same way. That each individual were in their own trajectory. The bass wasn't too bassy; it was just right there. You had the frequency, and then you got Eric Clapton, and then there will be solos that follow almost like a jazz Dixieland. Uh, Ginger Baker was a jazz drummer. You had most of the drummers that you get out of '60s bands, including Ringo. They came from a horn band, swing bands, dance bands. They were more jazz oriented musicians. If you take out Mitch Mitchell out of Jimi Hendrix, which to me is all the perfect example. Mitch Mitchell, he's playing big band jazz behind down, down, back, back, da, 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 brrr, down, da, 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 back. Then it goes into like the boogaloo drum beat. And then if you listen to ba-da, ba-da, ba-ba, that's a horn section riff. Not a guitar riff, it's a horn, which is where Hendrix came from, touring with all the horn bands and Little Richard and whatever he was doing, right? And then, the bass followed through. A lot of times Hendrix would play bass on the records, So again, you have this, not everybody's playing the same thing at the same time. They're filling it out, more orchestrated.
Are you thinking in terms of frequency, like you were touching on earlier?
Well, when you look at sheet music, especially classical music, a symphony,
Now,
sparse. Yeah, you got counterpoints, and then the counterpoint most of the time is the vocal.
so
That's your counterpoint.
you
That's your
actually
melody.
you approach it this way when you're writing? Like that's
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Even if I'm not writing, even if I'm not writing the whole song, I'm just writing the bass part to something that's been pre-recorded. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to give. It's almost like sewing, weaving something and sticking it together. That thread
That's a true bass.
that holds it together.
That's a true bass.
Well,
It's hard to find.
well,
Like you know,
stylistically, that's why I look at it. I mean, there's guys that just like, let's say ACDC. It's that metronomic holding it down. And it's a style. It's we got 12 notes, and it's a matter of choices what we're going to use or not use. So it's just a matter of taste. So, but if you ask me what is in my mind, the way my perception of what I enjoy doing when I'm at home, because in certain bands I don't have that freedom, but I do have that freedom in Quiet Riot because that's the way that we approach everything, even back then. As a matter of fact, there are songs that I'm playing completely different today than when we recorded because it wasn't just the band, it was the producer making a decision.
Right.
No, we, simplify it. Uh, things got simplified in the 80s and the blueprint became ACDC. I know this, I was there, I was part of the whole thing. With the success of Def Leppard, which actually the success of Def Leppard was since they had two things. They had the appeal of the teenager of the girls.
Right.
ACDC really did not appeal to the girls like Def Leppard did. I know this because Def Leppard opened up for Ozzy, so I got to witness this every day. They are the ones who brought in the female, who then got to see Randy and became fans of Randy because Randy had that matinee idol guitar player, appeal.
Yeah.
So that made when we were with Motorhead, we did very few arenas. Once we Def Leppard became special guests, it changed everything. That's yeah, that changed everything. And it was just the second half of the same tour. Yeah, second leg. And then that's what, helped us to go into the Diary of a Madman tour.
Just beautiful. Did you play on that album, or was it?
No, they were recorded before Tommy Aldridge and I joined the band. Those Lee Kerslake and Bob Daisley. Yeah.
You, just your personal opinion. Did you like playing his parts in the way?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But I get it. Let's put it this way. You know that Bob Daisley came back to the band after I left, and he was there from Bark at the Moon up until No More Tears.
Okay.
He kept recording. That's Bob Daisley playing. As a matter of fact, if you look at the footage of Ozzy at the Oz Festival, that's Bob Daisley playing. But they never talk about Bob during that period. They always talk about Bob during Blizzard and Diary. And what's the difference? Randy's not there.
Yeah, I think when I saw the album, like No Rest for the Wicked, it was Geezer playing bass on it, supposedly.
Yeah, yeah, but songwriting wise, he was always involved in the band.
That's
I mean, up until No More Tears.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Um, Bear with me here. There's a lot of questions I have for you, but I just enjoy listening to you talk.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think about AI in music today? How do you feel about that?
I think it could be an interesting collaborator because I just to see what the whole thing is about. I've gone, a couple of those apps,
You don't even have to
and
play. You don't even
I'm
have to.
sorry.
So you don't even
No,
have to know how to play anymore. Though.
yeah, no, you do because there's a lot of crap. It's
Right.
like having a conversation with a baby. It's in a baby stage. Not even. I think it might be even a fetus stage.
I
You know,
played around with it.
uh, it it. I think AI might be good for like a spark, an idea. I mean, I'm going to some of the top sites and I'm going like, these lyrics really suck. Or it's easier to put together music once it is to put together lyrics. Man, that's something else. That's lyrics come from a whole different dimension,
You write
a
lyrics.
different consciousness. Yes, I do. And I write lyrics whenever they come. I write a lot of lyrics in Spanish that has nothing to do with rock and roll. I've learned not to choke the the idea that's coming through me. I just let it go. It might not be what I'm looking for, but it's coming through, and I'm going to write it down.
It's like a stream of consciousness.
Yes, yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like something that needs to be told to get out of my system.
It's great.
Yeah, because I sit down and to write something specific, and that doesn't come true. It's something else that comes through.
So, do you have any advice for anybody, for aspiring musicians these days? What and do you think is lacking anything these days? For me, I think not necessarily everybody, but that having that ability to have everything at your fingertips now. Like when you were growing up, or I was growing up, there was an internet. You'd learn from everybody and anybody that you could. Nowadays, you have it right there at your fingertips, but I still feel like it's missing something. Like, you'll never see another rock star. I mean, when do you think you would ever see another rock star? And I just don't personally see that. And I was wondering how you feel about that. If you see any possibility of that being beneficial, or if it's negative because they lack the experience. These kids are lacking the actual experience of getting out there instead of just playing in their bedroom, learning it note for note, which there's some amazing players. But I feel like that the whole direction of music, is is like all over the map. And you got to weed through the garbage these days. There's so much out there. There isn't any one particular genre. It's not like you got rock and then metal or heavy metal and then you got grunge. You know, now it's like just all over the map, and there's a lot of garbage out there, and there's a lot of I don't know. This is my personal opinion. I was just wondering how you feel about it, the direction of music these days.
Yeah, I mean, in order for me to make uh, you know, any comment based on understanding what I'm about to say, I had to go and study it, and I look back at the origin of how we got here. And if you think about maybe 100 something years ago, before radio, before phonograph, there was always instruments in everybody's homes. Because if you want to hear music, you gotta play yourself. Very simple. Or you go to church, and there will be in the during the mass, there will be a lot of music, and maybe you get to sing along, right? So it was very interactive. Uh, as soon as radio and phonograph, okay, imagine, let's say, the most popular artists back when the phonograph. I'm talking about the big one with the big horn and the cylinder, right? Technology. Yeah, that's the technology, right? When the first, let's say, the most popular artists of the time were Caruso, opera singer Caruso, Enrico Caruso, and he will go on tour, but only the major cities. And the older he got, the less he toured. So people had to go and see him. If instead of touring in New York and New Jersey, he would just do multiple nights in New York. So now you got to travel from New Jersey to New York to watch Caruso live. And then he stopped touring, but he had the cylinders that you could listen to at home. Anybody who heard Caruso live in the theater and would hear one of those cylinders with the big with the with the gramophone, going, "This is crap." But that crap is all we got. Because that guy is not singing anymore. We cannot say. So this is what we got, right? Okay. So then comes radio. And what the family would sit around the radio, listen to whatever program. And again, it's program. They found a way through technology how to start programming humans to buy stuff. You need this. You need to buy this, or you need to smoke cigarettes because this is what a man does. You need to have a drink when you get home from work because you need to relax. Programming, right? So now they're using music as a vehicle to program society, and they still do. Like if now, in addition to that, then you got TV. Oh boy, you got television late at night when old people can go to sleep. All the ads for all these meds, big pharma buys all the time, you know. And a lot of times I look at the ad and I go, "What is this ad for?" I wouldn't get this because it's everybody's happy. Everybody's happy, and everybody's like, all these. And nowadays is all this multicultural advertising with like the people from different backgrounds, and I'm going like, I still don't know what this ad is for, but it's getting played all the time. Again, it's programming. It's like if you feel like this, you're gonna take this medication because you're gonna feel great. You're gonna be as happy as these people are. So music has become a tool to actually create a a a, a collective consciousness depending on commercialism. And don't take me wrong, I'm not trying to deliver a socialist speech. I come from a communist country, so I am anything but socialist. I know from experience, right? But this is a fact. I'm not saying capitalism is wrong. What I'm saying is that we're too dependent. We have choices. We can go, I'm not going to buy into this bullshit, right? Or the people that don't, they feel like, well, I'm depending on this bullshit so I can go on with my life and blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. You don't. I have certain streaming services that include ads because I figure, you know what? I'm not going to pay attention to the ads, and it saves me from paying something $20 and brings it down to like 12. Yeah, it's the point. It's the point. So you're going to show me the same show, the same program, but you're going to include some ads that I'm not going to pay attention to. I mean, I've never bought anything because there's an advertising telling me that I need this in my life. No, I don't need it in my life. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't take aspirins. I don't gamble. I play music.
That's awesome.
Right? Yeah, and that's all I do. So none of this is really going to have a major effect on me because I realize that I have been programmed. We are programmed. First of all, we're programmed by our parental units because they're teaching us. And basically, from their own experiences, they say, "Okay, this works for me, so I want to pass it on to you." Then, the most dangerous one. And I say dangerous because it all depends on the teacher. It's going to school. You're locked in this room for You don't know who this person is. They just know that they have authority over you and they're going to teach you certain things that might contradict what your parents are, are teaching you at home. I went through this in Cuba when communism came in. Oh, yeah. All of a sudden, all the teachers were like teaching you about how good Fidel is and communism and blah, blah. My parents were going, no, we're leaving. We're out of here, you know. So, again, you know, and when I arrived in 1961 in the United States, coming from communism, all of a sudden I have prayer in school and the Pledge of Allegiance every single day. And I'm going like, wow, this is awesome. This is great. Then it gets removed. Now it's been replaced by some other rhetoric that I'm 73, so it really has nothing to do with me. I don't have any kids. Uh, so it doesn't really profoundly affect me, but it affects me as the way that I look like, wow, society has really changed. I'm not sure which way, you know, where we're going with this, but I'm probably, hopefully, I'm not going to be around if shit hits the fan because of my age. But it's not good for the new generation. You know, kids are gonna, you know, and again, it comes down to what is music really? Once technology, once broadcasting, and broadcasting is a big industry. BMI just got sold. It's an equity partnership bought it,
I didn't know that.
and they oh yeah, Google it, BMIs, and they did it quietly, but they did it. It's been sold. Next will be ASCAP. Next is all the publishing, all the songs are being broadcast because that's how we make money for through BMI. It's the broadcasting music international, whatever, BMI, and then you got ASCAP, and that's how we make money, but not on streaming formats. That's Sound Exchange, but BMI is for the songwriters, the publishers, and the songwriters, and then we have Sound Exchange for the actual people who are the team members of the group who signed the record deal, like I did with Quiet Riot. And I don't make Sound Exchange from Whitesnake or Ozzy, even though I have records with them. And that is a different cut of the pie that comes from musicians union, the Federation of Musicians, yeah, union. And so right now we're entering an era that was going to be a difference from listening to something that was recorded by AC/DC in Back in Black in the early '80s, or a kid that goes to a just because he wants to hear a song that is new, like something written by AC/DC during the Back in Black, and he puts that into the AI, and there's this song comes out that is never being heard before by anybody, but just AI just created it for the first time. And now they're going through issues that AI, the creators of the software, are going to be sharing in the profits of anything, because now you can take those songs and put them up on YouTube as your song.
Not the any royalties. And no,
Right now, well, and yeah, there are certain subscriptions that you do that you don't have to, that you're allowed to get copyright of that song. But it's gonna get to the point. This right now we're going through. It's gonna be a co-write. You're gonna have to share co-writing with them, with whoever creates the and every song, like every song that is streamed has a code, so you know who wrote it, who's the performer, all of that. Who the label, if there's a label, you know, things like that. So AI songs do have the same thing. They have a code built and written into them.
that's that's scary, in my opinion. I don't look
Yeah,
because you spend your blood, sweat, and tears writing a song.
yeah.
Basically,
Yeah, but think about it. Think about it. 200 years ago, when there was always a piano or some kind of a instrument at the home, that people every night will get together after dinner and make music. The thought of them not having to play it because they can actually go to a radio and hear a song, that was scary to them too.
yeah, that's interesting because obviously it's going to happen whether you want it to or not, and it's hard for somebody like me to grasp, how that can be positive in any way. But I'm sure it'll probably work itself out eventually.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the the background of 60s British musicians, they all came from families that owned musical instruments in their homes. From Elton John being taught by his grandmother, whatever,
Eagles.
to the Beatles. The Beatles, they all had instruments at home. Paul McCartney's girlfriend, Jane Asher, Peter Asher's sister from Peter and Gordon, and a producer, he talks about on the radio about, oh yeah, Paul wrote this song on my family's piano because he happened to be hanging with his sister who was his girlfriend Jane Asher, and there's a piano. How many homes have a piano nowadays? They don't, but that was the normal. Everybody had a piano at home, and everybody knew how to started to play because a grandma or mom is going to show me how to play this. And because was like you're a toddler and you get on the piano, start banging. Oh, musical inclination. Oh, this child. Well, let's sit right next to me. Here, let me show you. And before you know it, you're 10 years old and you're already playing piano or reading music. It doesn't happen anymore.
That
You know,
kind of bothers me. You know, I think the reason why I want to do this really is because people like you, virtuosos like Steve Vai, and all the guys, that I grew up listening to, like you, um, and for people to understand, the root of music and where it actually comes from, as opposed to just programming in on AI, like you were saying, and taking an AC/DC song and then having AI making a whole different song out of it without them having to, put any effort into it. I think it's important, and I want this to be
yeah,
educated too. I want
yeah.
to somehow.
Well, I mean, if you're going to look back and look, let's go even beyond the origin of music. Music. Okay. Have you ever studied quantum physics?
No, but
Okay.
interesting.
Okay. The foundation of quantum physics is there's two things. There's waves, which is frequency, and there's particles. Once a wave is observed, it will manifest into what the observance of the wave becomes a particle. Let's say, for example, okay, I'm gonna look around your room. Okay, you see that black pillow right to your left or to your right? There you go. Right? That pillow before it became a pillow, it was a thought. It was a thought. Oh, we're gonna make to sell. I don't know. Did you buy that at a store?
Actually, I think that what you're looking at is my cat.
No, no, I was looking at the pillow with the on the floor, basically. Anything that you see that you purchase at a store, yeah, it was thought by it was a thought before it became a pillow. Consciousness, right? Anything, even the hat you're wearing, the Yankees. Somebody said, "Okay, we're gonna put together a baseball team, and now we're gonna find a logo. Oh, New York Yankees, right?" When you see that logo, it's a consciousness. Now, to me, that logo means that my dad made me a Yankee fan when I was a kid because the Yankees used to be part of the Winter League in Havana prior to the Cuban Revolution, and all those players came down to Cuba and they played in the Cuban national teams. And so all the Yankee players were the best. I'm talking about the 50s, and 60s. So, and then when I moved to New Jersey, WPIX in the 60s, they used to air every single game for free, right? So I used to come home from school and keep score. I learned how to keep score of the game just because I was a fan, not because of anything else. So that logo has a certain frequency to it. If you walk down the street wearing a Yankee shirt, let's say in New York City, nobody knows who you are, but they feel safe with you. You walk by strangers that want to feel safe because you are also a Yankee fan. You wear the same shirt and hat in Boston,
I
you're
know.
going to feel the same way about you.
I know from personal experience. Yeah, I have.
Okay. So it is a part of the collective consciousness. Everything that we have in life that surround us, we are fractals. We are fractals. You are a fractal of your mom and dad. Your mom and dad are a fractal of their mom and dad, and so on and so on. And if you have children, they are fractals of you and your wife. You know, but there's two things one thing handed down. DNA has memory. And you put the okay, so your body has memory of your previous genealogy, right? Then your consciousness is a completely different set of memory of having, yes, completely separate from your body because your body is brand new. It's a new, as a baby, you're just born. You have the only memory that you have that slowly comes into play as you grow up is from your genealogy. Then you insert the soul into your body, which is your consciousness that's been around forever. It's been around even before the Big Bang because it was consciousness that created it. Now you're dealing with like, oh my God, it's your body, your consciousness has experienced all these things inside of these human bodies for eternity. Well, yeah, right now, and they keep finding new things. Right now, the newest finding in Turkey that the humans, the modern human, I'm not talking about the Neanderthal, but the modern human is about 15,000 years old.
Right.
15,000. So we're talking about, okay, 15,000 in the evolution of the modern human body, the modern human. Um, but before that, consciousness has inhabited and created the galaxies. The reason why the universe keeps expanding is because we as individuals believe that it's actually expanding. But what I'm getting at the core of it is that musicians, we are as close to the God consciousness just because we create waves. We create sound, we create frequencies. We recreate them. They already exist. We're just actually, yeah, we just like actually letting them out. Something that it's already exists. I mean, we cannot invent a frequency because it's already exists, but we can recreate it. A logo has a frequency because it's going to make you feel a certain way, and it's going to bring certain consciousness to it. Rock shows are a manifestation of collective consciousness. Think about it. Let's say a stadium show. Let's say you go see Metallica play at the stadium. Each individual, before they meet at this stadium, leave their home, probably has to call a babysitter, maybe not, maybe they're too old for babysitters, to have kids or whatever, but they're one thought in mind. There's a collective consciousness that's going to unite in this stadium and you're gonna go and park your car. You're gonna walk through. You're gonna get your ticket or show it on your iPhone. Then you're gonna go buy merchandise, and you're gonna buy a shirt because it's, you want to represent that collective consciousness. And then you're gonna buy maybe a drink and something to eat. And then you're all gonna be bombarded by these frequencies that the band is creating in this stadium. And you're gonna be standing shoulder to shoulder with the audience. We project, our energy field projects about 6 feet from around our body. So you're cross-fading with everybody, and everybody's feeling the same frequencies at the same time. And you do that for an hour and a half. And by the time you leave, you have experienced this collective consciousness that everybody in that room feels exactly the way as you do. Except for that one guy in front of the audience that's going like that. To the band. There's always one.
Your philosophy or concept or your attitude reminds me a lot of Steve Vai. Like, you guys have a lot in common. No wonder why you guys probably enjoy playing together.
I did. I not only enjoy. I learned a lot from Steve because he was more evolved when I played with him 30 something years ago than I was. But the whole thing it's been a journey for him and me. You know, we found certain things separately because we were not playing together at the time. And I spent most of my time with Steve asking him about Frank Zappa because I was always very curious about what he learned from Frank. And I learned a lot from Steve. I learned about multitasking, very organized.
He's very open-minded too. Like, hey,
Yeah, very. But you know, from playing with him, I understood that if Steve would have decided to become a brain surgeon, he would be the Steve Vai of brain surgeons.
yeah, he's definitely very deep and profound, which also I'm experiencing from you too. Is there anything that you would like me to share that you have coming up? With
Well, I mean, the never ending Quiet Riot tour.
I'd love to see
Yeah.
it. I saw you with Kevin DuBrow and the original band. I think you opened up for Night Ranger and Ted
Oh
Nugent
yeah, Ted Nugent, yeah.
in Albany.
That must have been the Rock Never Stop tour, yeah.
At the I was actually
Yeah. Yeah.
and you guys sounded great. I was so
Yeah.
blown away because I'd never seen it before. You guys sounded amazing. So tight, so professional, and exactly what a band should be.
Yeah. I have a lot of great memories of that tour. Yeah.
It was awesome. It was a good show.
Okay.
Rudy, thank you so much. I appreciate your time sincerely.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
You take care.
So, Crystal, say hello, and you're kidding.
I'll
You take care.
You too.
Okay, man. God bless. Bye bye.
God bless you too. Bye.
Bye bye.